Thoughts on the goofy ass pants. Oh, hi there. Welcome to the musical show. That's the name of it, isn't it? Yeah. Where I blabber on about music for way too long and listen to way too many albums. Yay. Oh, God. This week, there have been a lot. a fucking lot of albums dropped. Not so much this week. Last week, even, there was a lot. But this week's kind of empty. But then next week, it's going to be all stacked again. And I can't seem to get a break. But it's a lot quieter this week, so that'll be cool. Right, first off, I'm going to do a cheeky little separate EP review because it's too short for me to include it with everything. Other I say 10 minutes or over sounds, but this was like 9 minutes, so it basically was, but also wasn't. It's Kali with Fuck Girl Season. This thing sounds exactly how you'd expect it to, although a bit more R&B than trap, as many would probably expect, or at least what I would have expected. Especially on Open to Say Too Much, which is vulgar, and kind of gets too vulgar to sound good over the mellow R&B instrumental like Young Nudy's part, even if his flows and voice, delivery-wise, was on point. The hook was nice too. Can't Get 'Em was solid from front to back from what it is, but nothing more. And aside from like 5 seconds in the middle of the song, nothing stuck in the memory from Stand On It. At this point, the EP was inoffensive, it wasn't great or anything, and then Beethoven happened, which sampled the deaf guy himself, and the song made me wish I had the same issue with my ears that he had, of not being able to hear shit, with the way it was produced and how awful Kali was, which was pretty much kind of offensive to the poor guy. Emily Chopper didn't even sound that bad, but everything about the song seemed to appeal to his awful sample pop style now. But yeah, no surprises he popped up. But yeah, the thing was bleh, and it was one of the worst songs on the air on it. To summarize, 4.1 out of 10. Why can't I speak? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. A lot dropped, alright? So yeah, I listened to 16 projects from this week, 15 of which were long enough to qualify for actually getting normal reviews in the normal column. But at the bottom is Holly Humberstone with Paint My Bedroom Black. Would have loved to enjoy this, but there's something about the music that to me just isn't very good. From the downright awful lyricism at times to the vocals that are just average at best, or the basic instrumentals, it's just painfully mid, man. The album is like someone who thinks she's edgy and cool, when in actuality, when in actuality she's basic as hell, or he's basic as hell, obviously. I'm not discriminating. Songs such as Baby Blues tried to be cool, but were just boring and mid, and there were songs that were basic, yeah, that were just duds, and then there was the genuinely horrible tracks, such as the title track that opened the goddamn thing. That was painful. However, that song aside, it's really awful, and there are bangers. Kissing in Swimming Pool slaps, and yeah. Overall, though, the album's boring as fuck and pretty mid, and the lyricism was often pretty awful too, and it's just not for me. Many in her field of music, in my eyes, have done and can do a lot better. 5.4 out of 10. Next up, we've got Ringo Starr with Rewind Forward. Oh, Ringo. The Beatle who has awful solo work, but is just cute and unable to age for some reason. This thing was relatively inoffensive, but also relatively basic and mid. Shadow on the Wall had a cool instrumental, but was just okay. And Paul McCartney written Feeling the Sunlight is insanely boring. Rewind Forward was by far the best song of the album, and insanely cute, and has a really nice message of peace and love for the 857th time in Ringo Starr's discography. It's just his thing. Have you seen his Twitter posts? Didn't he put something up like, peace and love, I give you this message, peace and love, Ringo? That's like his latest tweet or something. He loves his finger symbol. Anyway, the close of Miss Jean was fun to some extent, but pretty forgettable. And overall, the whole EP is. It's cute and nice to see Ringo having fun, and I hope he continues making music. And like for 83, he's got decent vocals, but like musically, I just don't really like it that much. 5.8 out of 10. Next up is Jamila Woods with Water Made Us, which was pretty disappointing. But with what I heard about the album, I'm not particularly surprised. Saba features always look promising until you realise he doesn't feature on music as good as his own ever, with the song Practice being bland and boring, which also goes alongside most tracks here in terms of being bland and boring. It's like a whole gang of them. The whole album is bland, boring, and insanely annoying, as you can see potential. A couple of tracks, such as Record Room, were cool and all, but still boring. Good news, boring. Jesus. Those song titles show why context is key, especially with the latter. Vocally, she's good, but the little auto-tune there isn't awful due to its subtlety, but it's just so annoying and could have been omitted. She can't sing. As for like the Still and Good News though, it's because there's two songs, one by Black Midi, one by Mac Miller, that I fucking bang out, and it's not good news that the song turned on for good news, so yeah. Just thought I'd explain my joke because it's not funny at all. I don't know why the fuck I put it in there. Also, 5 minutes for 5 interludes and 42 minutes, really? And they're all boring. Be like fucking M83 if you're gonna do that and have them be good. Please. Overall, if it wasn't already obvious, this album was an uninteresting slog that too many times for comfort, was super boring, despite the odd high here and there. 5.9 out of 10. Next up, we have got Rick Astley with Are We There Yet, which is fun for what it is. There are some cute tracks such as Dipping My Feet, which had the best instrumental by a fucking mile, and genuinely great songs such as like Never Gonna Stop, which was such a cute track, and Golden Hour, which was super well produced. Not like production was ever an issue. The main issue is that the album was dad pop and pretty basic. The more the album went on, the less original and more mid it got. Closer, Blue Sky had good elements but was super boring, and Waterfall was also the exact same. Overall though, the album's fun. It had nice tracks, and whilst there were duds and bores, it was cute and enjoyable. And that's pretty much all you can ask from Rick Astley these days, or pretty much ever, let's be honest. What was I going to say? I can't remember, but 6.2 out of 10. Moving on to West Side Gun with And Then You Pray For Me. At face value, this does seem like a weird way to bow out full-length albums, but in actuality, to be honest, I can sort of understand what he tried to do. This album was meant to be bloated and a mess so it could have songs that appealed to all, which I can kind of understand. This album was a cash grab, in my eyes, and I suppose by those standards, it's decent enough, but it's not what anyone really wanted in terms of, This album is mostly trap, and unfortunately, Westside and Griselda in general suck at trap. So, the more normal Griselda tracks seemed amazing, and were almost all of the main highlights. Songs such as Kitchen Lights, The Revenge of Flip's Leg, and Suicide Selfridges had incredible beats. Notice how 2 of the 3 are produced by Conductor Williams, by the way. One of the best producers in the game right now. And yeah, rapping from Westside was also offensive. But you get your fair share of the opposite. That being the trap tracks that allow Westside Gun doesn't know what to really flow on. That are basic and boring, even if he did. There's been Stephen Johnny and LL Bull Gun to name but 2, with the former not having a good feature. SG, it has to be one of the worst rappers of all time. He's talentless, honestly. Costas was a banger, and so was Mr. Everything and Ultra Griselda. The latter probably having one of the best features, if not the best feature on the album. Denzel was insane. And I suppose that's another thing. And another issue. The features had to carry this album a lot, and often Westside Gun was the worst part of the track. Some beats are bland, but most of them are solid enough, but are ruined so hard by Westside's inability to rap on them. For example, Rick Ross carried Dunhill, and in many other tracks that kinda sucked, Steve got Cooks on House of Glory, and KC on Closer, And Then You Pray For Me sucked ass. And also, in KC's case, he was given the whole entire song, and he couldn't even do anything good with it. Honestly, the worst thing I think you can do is not even appear on your old song. If you do that, the song is automatically awful. Like, come on. Don't put a song under your name that you don't appear on. Unless you're a producer making a producer album, then, like, obviously it makes sense, as long as you produce the fucking song. Obviously, DJ Khaled's a piece of shit, but, like, the ad-libs are funny. Oh, yeah. And there's also bangers in which the feature is the best face by a mile, such as Conway and Costas. And There are also just another couple of tracks I want to mention. 1989 is Experimentation Gone Wrong and Horrendous 2. But the good just about outweighs the bad, and there are a lot of great tracks here, and overall it's a pretty solid album. Sadly though, it came out in the worst way it could have done. Bloated and insanely annoying at times. Real shame that this is his final full length and he's just moving on to like fashion and movies and shit, which will be fire, but like, man. Hopefully he continues releasing shorter mixtapes and they're a lot more focused. Because, this wasn't focused at all. It was a mess. Rome Street has had to carry Griselda this year, sadly. Now that Conway has just been solid this year and isn't even on the damn label because he started his own. 6.4 out of 10. Moving on to Gucci Mane with Breath of Fresh Air. 24 song albums in general don't work, but this actually wasn't bad somehow. Guwop is someone whose music I've just found insanely uninteresting and unmemorable despite its influence on trap, which is obviously undeniable. I feel like I'm Gucci Mane in 2006. However, moving on to individual tracks, and it's the usual trap story. It's quite the name of a Gucci mixtape. There's a lot of goated tracks, but there's a lot of bloated tracks. Hey, look at me and my epic rhymes. Yay. I'm never using the word epic again. I apologise. Key Glock's hook and the beat on Glizzock and Wizzop. Anyway, were downright insane, and Gucci did his thing well enough. And the first of two Young Dolph features, thank me, had an amazing... Young Dolph tracks, thank me, had an amazing beat too. As much as, like, morally, I disagree with its inclusion. Rest in peace to Young Dolph, though, of course. The beat that was on TikTok, spreading like fuck, you know, the... Nah, I'm completely in the wrong key. I'm not even sure I'm on a key, I'm just yapping. Da, 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 da. No, that's like a completely different beat. You'll know it when you hear it on Trap Money. And like the track's mixed like shit, but like the beat's too good for me not to like the song. So yeah, it kind of slapped. The opener, Must Be Me, was produced by Jay White Did It, and judging off how amazing the production was, thank God. However, with the 24-song trap album comes with a lot of duds and uninteresting bloat nobody asked for. Wappenheimer was rushed to fuck so it could be dropped in that week, and you could tell by how boring it was. Broken Hearted was ruined by Gucci Mane's awful singing, and yeah, it sucked. And finally, lyrically, it's not very good. But going to a trap album for lyrical substance is like asking for an act of kindness from Jeffrey Dahmer. It's never going to happen, but like they were repetitive in terms of ideas and bars and stuff. And can we also like get rid of Kodak Black making toilet jokes? I shit on like doo-doo. That's a genuine bar on this thing. Or it's weighted roughly like that. But yeah. Overall though, I was pleasantly surprised, I'll be honest. It was at its worst boring and had a lot of bangers and was really bad at all. Genuinely good album from Guwop, which I thought wouldn't be said again because like he's not very good anymore. 6.4 out of 10. Moving on to Peasy with Ghetto. I'll be honest, this did disappoint me, but not to a point where I was hugely surprised. After all, I was judging my hopes on an inconsistent level of features in terms of how much I like the artist, and a West Side Gun feature where he carried. But it would have been more alarming if he didn't, due to his lack of good flow on trap tracks, which I've already gone into detail about. Here, something was missing, and I think it was the flows as well at times. Whilst they all technically work, some just didn't sound that good, especially on Fashion Week. And we also learned that Larry June doesn't fit trap there, like, at all. Amongst this, the mixing on some songs, such as on One of the Greatest, was straight up not good and sounded kind of awful. However, the beat in general was solid, and Peasy showed his potential in some tracks, such as in Noah Mary's, to be really fucking good. But come on, a song with Key Glock never doesn't slap, so you'd hope for it, I guess. I already mentioned like the other Key Glock track this that dropped this week as fire and one of the highlights on that album too. Probably the best song on that album as well. Key Glock's insane, that's all I've got to tell you. Overall, though, the album's good and has high highs, but sadly has duds that are a little bit too frequent and straight up insanely annoying flaws and flows. 6.8 out of 10. Moving on to Bad Bunny with Nadie sabe lo que va a pasar mañana. I'm pretty much Spanish, innit? This was a lot better than I expected. I thought this would be a complete and utter boring slog, and well, it wasn't. Sure, it was repetitive instrumentally, and sure, Bad Bunny on tracks such as Fina wasn't great, but like the beats were mostly fire. So hey, Where She Goes is still just as big of a banger as it was when it came out, and that won't change. It's so addicting and fun, as is Ako PR, however you pronounce that. It was also never really bad. He's clearly better at trap than he is at reggaeton, or maybe the reggaeton is just that bad of a genre, which it is. Reggaeton is one of the worst genres of all time. It sucks. There were slight doubts, but Closer Un Preview is the only bad song, and even then, it wasn't awful, apart from Gracias por Nada. That song sucks ass as well. That one's terrible, man. It's so annoying of a song. Ugh. Overall, this album has a lot of great tracks and is solid pretty much throughout. Sure, it's not high in memorability and has its studs, but still, it's rarely bad and a really solid project that would have been great if it wasn't so fucking long. 6.8 out of 10. Moving on to Offset with Set It Off. This album's incredible when it feels like it. Songs such as like Say My Grace are amongst the best Trap has offered all fucking decade, and in general, the production is done really well, and the elements of the music are layered and interesting, even when most of the song is basic in terms of like progression. The Travis Scott feature was on point. The beat was on point. Everything was on point. Offset had an amazing verse. It was just an absolute masterpiece of a song. Also, like to shout out Worth It and the start of this album in general for existing. However, after that, the album does fall off a bit, and overall, it is pretty basic and hard to remember, aside from tracks like the one I just mentioned, because the album is filled with bangers, but they just come and go, such as like Dope Body. However, among the basicness, Offset's rare experimentation never ends well, as it was mostly in like an R&B or pop direction that, judging off the likes of Dissolve, is not very good because he can't sing. He was relying on autotune to sing and get through the tracks, which really isn't good ever. At least the features do their thing on those tracks when they are on. Also, this may be a personal preference, but man, did the album get so repetitive after a while, and it really bugs me. It's just annoying. Overall, the album's good. It has some amazing tracks and a lot of bangers, but at the same time it's repetitive and shows his lack of talent in genres that aren't trap. I do believe an album as good as this is his potential, which is a shame with how much potential he and his group seem to have at one point, but still, hey, it's a fire album. There's fire tracks. Yeah, 7.1 out of 10. Moving on to Jay Worthy, Kamaya, and Harry Fraud, The American Dream, which should technically be below that because it's got a lower rating, but whatever. The Offset rating was the same rating as this originally, so yeah. After the mid-project with Rock Marciano, I was hopeful that working with one of the most underrated producers in the game would cause him to bounce back, and he has, but not as much as I would hope. Harry Fraud, as always, has great beats to offer, and they shine on tracks such as Money in the Bag. However, some beats were pretty basic, and while they were still solid, he can and has done so much better. I will stand by the Currency project, Vices, being fire as fuck and a really good album. The beat on Closer Streetlights was mid though. In fact, that song sucks ass, mainly because of Kamaya's fucking hook with that chicken bar just really rubs the wrong way. Usually she is a cool addition though. She does add something cool to the album and fit in well, but yeah. The hook game also wasn't great on Pull Up, but that was more Jay Worthy. He didn't stand out much in the project and was relatively inoffensive, unlike in his previous projects this year where he kind of sucked. However, as a rapper, I'm not convinced. As much as this project is good and has amazing tracks, he doesn't stand out all that much. A nice listen, but nothing particularly memorable, and for Harry Fraud standards, it's not as good as Vices. And Jay Worthy, I just don't think is very good, sadly. 7.1, go on. Forget it. This and Offset are the same rating, why not? 7.1 out of 10. Moving on to Boy Genius with The Rest. This EP is beautiful when it's on, but comes and goes without leaving too much of an impression. Black Hole had beautiful vocals that were easily the best part of the song, which really fit the mellow instrumental. Afraid of Heights was absolutely the most well-produced song, and while it was beautiful instrumentally, it was relatively uninteresting. Voyager was a bit of a boring dud though, and although I do see the appeal. And Close Up Powers was really nice, but not much else to say about it. And that's what you could say about this EP in general. Due to these tracks' lack of memorability and replay value, I see why these didn't make the album, and it's just good for what it is, even if I don't feel the urge to return to pretty much any song on this. 7.3 out of 10. Next up is Geese with 4D Country. Geese are one of the best new rock bands of the game, and one I will heavily follow from now on for sure. I regret ignoring these, and now that this EP of throwaways has turned out this fire, these are the real deal. The opener and title track 4D Country is a tad too long and starts slowly, but the ending is fantastic, and overall, it's a great reinvention of 3D Country title track, even if I don't like the idea of just rehashing what already exists. Jesse was a bit... Geese? It's either Geese or Jesse. Was a bit of a mare track in which the vocalist's singing style simply didn't mesh with the instrumental. Art of War was art, and a fantastic track that is quintessential Geese. Killing My Borrowed Time was a banger but nothing more, and you can understand why it didn't make the cut, despite how fun it was, and Close the Space Race fucking slapped. Overall, this EP is anything particularly new, but for what it is, it's full of bangers and really fun to listen to. Why the fuck can I not speak today? 7.8 out of 10. Moving on to Troye Sivan with Something to Give Each Other. For all the gays. In all seriousness though, this is a fire dance pop album that, yes, shows the guy embracing his sexuality, they're indoctrinating the kids, the album cover's weird, but who gives a fuck? Rush is still a bop, so yeah. The following track, What's the Time Where You Are, is also a bop and really well produced. However, the album in its field is relatively basic, and while it's well produced, it can come across as slightly repetitive and sometimes corny at times, especially in terms of the drum patterns, which are so basic in the two aforementioned songs that it's literally the only information about both of them. Can't go back, baby. I'd say it's flawless though, so hey. Amongst this, it could be lyrically corny at times, such as Still Got It, although that track does have the best instrumental on the album, and the sample on Got Me Started could have been a lot worse, but like pop that relies on a sample from a song from decades ago, straight up sucks pretty much all the time. It's not like hip hop where it can work in my eyes. It's just a personal taste thing that like it sucks, because samples are only good when I don't know where they come from. Overall though, the album's great and a really fun listen. 7.8 out of 10. Moving on to Ken Carson with A Great Chaos. He's actually done it. He's mastered the range sound completely that he's been in. He's found his own sound, which he did on X. He just didn't do very well in it. But he saw the flaws, maybe, or just made a better album by chance, I'm not sure. The production sounds like something created whilst on the codeine he often raps about. It's insane. The bass is just ridiculous, and my favourite type of rage is that weird bassy stuff, so hey, it was right up in my street. Until it did go too far in tracks such as like Lose It, where the track was only bass. Just listen to the opener and you'll know what I mean. Songs such as Me and My Cup, Hardcore, and Fighting My Demons were simply insane and really fun to listen to. Rapping wise, he was better than he was on X. He wasn't great. Still, he isn't great technically, but it fits the production well enough, so who cares? Lyrically though, there is a fair share of awful bars that have to be made on the same drugs that the production were. Shame about the outcome of those, though. But, yeah, what can you do? Amongst this, there is the odd dud, such as, like, Paranoid, which is just a slog and a comer and a goer, to be completely honest. Overall, the rapping's not amazing, and neither's lyricism, but the production outdoes that significantly, and they're never so bad that they ruin a song, like, at all, to be completely honest, apart from maybe I Need You, but that song was kind of a dud to begin with. But yeah, the production, probably the best there ever has been in Rage. So hey, great album. 7.8 out of 10. And at the top is Mike with Burning Desire. I think this guy is hacked how to make a 24-song album. Make every track short as fuck. Actually worked pretty damn well in fairness. The beats had a beautiful and really good sound to them and were fantastic and Mia most of the time. The features were great, but sometimes seemed to just go unnoticed, and Micah was great rapping-wise, even if flows were repetitive after a while, with it being 24 tracks long. Onto individual tracks, and there were some absolutely incredible ones that was so well produced. The whole album was well produced, but stuff like Zap is really well produced. And Billboards is also really well produced. But many, while great, seemed to come and go, and were basic at times, and unfortunately, there were one or two duds. One being the boring and uninteresting Baby Jesus. The song, not the guy. The guy's fine. The guy's cool. Baby Jesus, Jesus Christ was a cool guy. I'm not getting sent to hell because I don't like a Mike album. Overall, this is consistent and cohesive and genuinely great with amazing and consistent production. Why did I say I don't like a Mike album instead of a Mike song when I gave his album with The Alchemist an 8 and this week I'm giving him an 8.2? Yeah. Mike is insane. He is honestly starting to get into my Artist of the Year contention. I'm at the point where I'm starting to think about people I will have in contention. So, yeah. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 albums came out this week. 9! I've been listening to over 10 for nearly 2 months now. So to only be listening to 7 of these, it feels so nice. Because now I can actually go back to albums I've wanted to listen to or re-listen to from the past. And I can actually get some of them done so I can update my ratings that I think are kind of outdated. Or at least some of them. And listen to ones that I need to listen to, such as Jeff Rosenstock. Finally! Anyway, let's shout out the 2 albums I'm not going to listen to. Starting off with Cher with Christmas. We are at that time of year, unfortunately, where she's listening to... where we're getting Christmas albums. Run, Rudolph, Run, Christmas, Baby Please Come Home. A lot of these are covers. 13 songs, 39 minutes. You know how I feel about covers albums. I can't be bothered with covers albums, so... yeah. And whilst I don't think this is entirely a covers album, come on, Drop Top Sleigh Ride is a new song, especially with the fucking Tiger feature. It also features Stevie Wonder, Darlene Love, and Michael Bublé, and Cyndi Lauper. This is weird, man. But yeah, if I can have any excuse for not listening to a Christmas album, that kind of makes sense. I will use that excuse to fuck. So yeah, can you really blame me? And also Reverend Kristen Michael Hazer. You might know her as Lingua Ignota with Saved. You may be wondering, she's Lingua Ignota. Didn't the bald guy give him a 10? Why are you not listening to him? To her. Basically, there's covers. It's a gospel album. There's covers of gospel songs that have existed since ever. There are some original ones. There are some weird plays on others, but if I can get out of the fucking trauma that this album will probably cause me, I will, for my own health. So yeah, I think it is fire. And if you're ready for some gospel weird horror movie experience, this probably is for you. But yeah, I don't fancy it. I am not bold enough. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Why am I counting them? I've already said. So, let's start off. I've already listened to Sampha with La High. His first album in 6 years features Leia Sen. 14 songs, 41 minutes. I predicted a 7 when it came out. Was I right? Was I wrong? Find out next week. Young Scooter with Streets Crazy, which features Future, SG, No Cap, Moneyman, Pee Wee Longway, and Young Nudie. 13 songs, 37 minutes long, 4. The Rolling Stones with Hackney Diamonds, which has Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Lady Gaga. 12 songs, 48 minutes long, 5. Blink 182 with One More Time, and I hope by that this is their last album. Please, I hate Blink 182 so fucking much. 70 songs, 44 minutes long, it's going to be a 2. I fucking hate Blink 182. They're cancer to my ears. I probably shouldn't use cancer because didn't their vocalist get it? That one time. They're HIV to my ears. Let's go with that. City Girls with Raw, which features Lil Dick, Money Long, Juicy J, Usher, Kim Petras. Of course, Juicy J's on this. It's on the Sexy Red album as well. Like, he horny. 18 songs, 44 minutes. This is going to be vulgar as fuck out of 10. Did I mention JT? It featured JT. 4. No, I'm not listening to it yet. Go away. And finally, everyone's least favourite artist, the Chainsmokers, with Summertime Friends, which features Gracie, Elenium, Charlie Hanson, May Stevens, Blood Nymph, 347 Aiden, Shensi, Nicky Jam, and Maluma. 8 songs, 21 minutes long. Every single song has a feature, apart from Summertime Friends. 1. The Chainsmokers are shit. They always have been, apart from the Coldplay song. That I don't care. That song's kind of a banger. So yeah, next week there will be a shorter episode. You won't have to sit through this for half an hour straight. Next week, the week after, if you watch, you probably will, because I've already looked next week. I think there's like 10, 11, 12 albums that I already know are coming out next week that I will listen to. And also a potential fucking Kanye West album, so... Like, he's a piece of shit, but, like, it's a cultural event, innit? But, yeah. Quiet week this week. One that I have needed for a hell of a long while. This week, though, it's just full of shit. Genuinely. I know I'm not listening to it, but the Reverend Kristen such and such, whatever her name is, Michael Hayter or something. Reverend Christian Michael Hayter, and Sam Aside, skip this week. Please, just skip this week. I don't care if you're a Rolling Stones fan, it's 2023, they suck now. But yeah, there's really not much worth listening to. Sampha will save the week for many. And I know there's like others in like the sort of indie scene that are meant to be really good, but, you know, I might end up skipping them, so hey. What albums might I listen to? I'll definitely listen to Jeff Rosenstock. Maybe someone like The National and their first 2 pages of Frankenstein, with how much I didn't really like Laughing Track all that much. I think that album will grow off me. Who else will you expect me to re-review? Or review? Underscores, I will definitely get to them. Yeah. There'll be actually, no, it will be as long as usual, because basically every episode's going to be really long now, like they have been recently, because I've got the albums I want to return to, and they are a lot. So, yeah. All listened to for the first time anyway. So, yeah. Great. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next week with a shorter version in terms of albums that came out this week. So, yeah. Bye.